Good morning. This presentation was created by Allison Copenhaver,
Abby Long, Aaron King,
Kristen Cox.
and Hannah Drake.
And our presentation is on saving the polar bears.
Get her done, by God!
Number 1. What is the biggest threat facing polar bears? Climate change and the loss of sea ice habitat is the greatest threat to polar bears. It affects them because it gives the polar bears fewer opportunities to feed and fewer cubs. Polar bears rely on sea ice to hunt and store energy for the summer and autumn, when food can be scarce. Sea ice now melts earlier in the spring and forms later in the fall. As the bears spend longer periods without food, their health declines. For every week earlier the ice breaks up, bears become roughly 22 pounds lighter and in poorer condition. Unhealthy bears can also lead to lower reproduction rates. Scientists have found the main cause of death for cubs to be either lack of food or lack of fat on nursing mothers.
Number 2. What other factors are harming polar bears? Other factors harming polar bears are oil exploration, toxic pollution, and overhunting. The oil and gas business is increasingly moving into the Arctic as more accessible reserves in the South dry up. Oil exploration affects polar bears by reducing insulation. Contact with oil spills can reduce the insulation effect of the bear's fur. The bear must then use more energy to keep warm and compensate by increasing its calorie intake, which may be difficult. Poisoning can also affect the polar bears. They can ingest oil through grooming and through eating contaminated prey. The ingested oil can cause liver and kidney damage and has long-term toxicity. Bears can be poisoned by even a limited amount of oil on their fur. Seismic blasting, construction, transportation, and operation of oil facilities can negatively affect polar bears. Toxic pollution is another reason. As top predators, polar bears are exposed to high levels of pollution through their food. Disruption of biological functions. Bears with high levels of some persistent organic pollutions have low levels of vitamin A, thyroid hormones, and some antibodies. These are important for a wide range of biological functions, such as growth, reproduction, and the ability to fight off disease. Overhunting is another threat to polar bears.
Number 3. What are the U.S. and other countries doing to protect polar bears? Russia and the U.S. are 2 of 5 countries where polar bears live. Russia and the U.S. are pushing protection for polar bears with a global treaty on endangered species. This will ensure bears the highest level of protection. The treaty they made is called the Constitution on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. It bans international commercial trade in skins, furs, and other items made from bears.
Number 4. How do scientists learn about polar bears? Scientists observe polar bears by using radio collars, but they can only track females using the collars because males have necks wider than their heads. They have mark recapture studies where they find the bears, tranquilize them, give them tattoo ID numbers, tags, and collect data such as weight, height, body fat, blood, hair, feces, and even teeth.
Number 5. What can be done to protect the polar bears? We are trying to lessen the greenhouse gas emissions so that the risk of global warming will be less, and that will help stop the melting of the polar ice caps, which will save some of the polar bears' habitats. Hunters have to stop killing polar bears. They are trying to stop global warming to make them live as long as they can.
We would like to thank all of our sources: nytimes.com, wwf.panda.org, alaska.usgs.gov, and answers.com. Thank you very much for your information.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget, save the polar bears and
subscribe.